What's going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Hope everybody's staying warm out there today. I know my parents sent me a picture not too long ago. It's already snowed about 5 inches at their house down near Gulf Shores, Alabama, and to me, that is just absolutely wild. So I hope you guys are staying warm today. But coming up on today's video, we're going to go ahead and look ahead to next season for Alabama. There's been a lot of some betting odds that have been put out there for next year's season, whether that's, over, under, win totals, some Heisman odds, and everything else like that. We're going to talk about some of those on today's video. Also, some pretty good recruiting news for Alabama today that I also want to touch on today's video. Before we get into all that, though, I want to ask you guys to go ahead and drop a like on today's video for me. You're probably saying, Chris, why are we going up against a like battle against the Bengals Breakdown YouTube channel here at Chat Sports? Well, normally our host our producer here, Stone Shields, is normally producing for me. I'm actually self-producing this video actually today, but he's also the host of our Bengals Breakdown channel, and he has issued a challenge right now. They're about 1,000 likes ahead of us right now for the month of January. So let's show those Bengals fans what Alabama fans are made of. Help me out. Make sure you guys like today's video for me right now. All right, first up on today's show, we're going to look at some betting odds here for the 2026, or I guess 2025 season for Alabama. I know, it's the 2026 National Championship next year, but it's the 2025 season, and I know it's all kind of crazy, but next season, that's what we're going with here. First up, 3 different sites have betting odds now for Alabama's chances to win the National Championship next year. DraftKings has them at plus 1,200. BetMGM has them at plus 1,600, and FanDuel also at plus 1,600. These are your top 10 teams right now for the national championship next year. Now, all these odds are from FanDuel, by the way. They've got Ohio State as the favorite yet again going into next season at plus 450. Then you got Texas, Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Notre Dame, which Notre Dame's a pretty easy bet. A lot of the times, I know they don't always or really haven't won the national championship here in a long time, but when you look at their schedule and just, not being in a conference, they pretty much do have the easiest path to always get there. So plus 1,200 isn't terrible odds there for Notre Dame. And then Alabama sitting there at plus 1,600, Tennessee at plus 1,800, as well as Clemson at number 9, and then LSU right there at plus 2,000. I think out of all these teams, probably Penn State, LSU, in my opinion, probably have the longest odds out of these 10 teams anyways to win the national championship next season. So let me know here at the pinned comment of today's video, guys. Will Alabama win the national championship here in the 2026 season? Let me know. Like I said, it is the pinned comment of today's video. You guys should know what that means by now. That ad's going to play here on YouTube. It's totally fine. You can ignore it. Get down there and let me know what you guys think. Type Y for yes or N for no in the comment section of today's video. Now, FanDuel also put out Alabama's win total for the 2025 season. They set it at 8.5, and originally I kind of had that shock value where I was like, 8.5, that's ridiculous. Well, you only won 9 games this year, so it's not the craziest thing in the world out there. This is Alabama's schedule next season. We're going to kind of run through this fast because we already talked about it. Florida State right there, the first game of the season, Louisiana Monroe. Look, I think most of these games for Alabama going into next season are extremely winnable games. It's not the hardest schedule out there in the world. Florida State, obviously, a very tough place to play. We'll see if Florida State ends up being a tough team to play next season. Obviously, going to Georgia is going to be a very big task. You got to get your get-back game against Vanderbilt as well. Then you also have Tennessee at home. You have LSU at home. You can get your get-back game against Oklahoma. Going to South Carolina on the road might be a little bit difficult. Their fans are rowdy. That's a really fun environment to play at Florida State as well. But then you have to go to Auburn next season. It would be Kalen DeBoer's first opportunity to go down to Auburn and win the Iron Bowl on the road, something that was kind of iffy even in the Nick Saban era. I think there's this crazy stat out there that Nick Saban never beat a 9-win Auburn team, whether that was on the road or at home. So, we'll see if Auburn's going to be any good next year. They definitely have some very good talent on that team. but I think a lot of winnable games on this schedule for Alabama next season. I'm going to pound that over 8.5 number. We also have some early betting odds here for Alabama's first game of the season against Florida State. They open up here going on the road as 7.5-point favorites. Also another game that should be extremely doable for Alabama at that plus 7.5 mark there. You see the total over under there at 51.5. Like I said, Florida State was absolute just, terrible this season. So, but like I said, it is still a very tough place to play down there, especially if that ends up being a night game for Alabama. But I definitely think, as of right now anyways, that is definitely a very, very winnable game for Alabama. We've also got some very, very long shot Heisman odds here for a couple Crimson Tide players. When I actually went, these are also from FanDuel. When I went on the FanDuel website, the only ones I actually found was Ty Simpson at plus 5,000 and then Austin Mack sitting way down there at plus 10,000 as well. But I was also reading a 247 Sports article that said Ryan Williams was listed at plus 3,500. Besides Smith down there at Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State, the second highest non-quarterback odds. So that's pretty solid there. But like I said, when I actually went on the FanDuel website, I could not find Ryan Williams. So I'm just going to go with 247 Sports there and hope, they saw it in a different place. Right now, LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier is the betting favorite to win the Heisman next season at plus 850. Look, I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is very good. You saw it, through the back half of the season this year, but there's a lot of people out there that really do ride Garrett Nussmeier. So we'll see if he can really turn it around and be more consistent for LSU next season. But for right now, those are the current betting odds for some of these Alabama players to win the Heisman next season. We'll continue with some recruiting news here in just a second, but today's show is presented by Game Time. Look, the NFL playoffs are underway right now, and it could not be any more fun to go to an NFL playoff game with friends, with family. You can make memories that will last a lifetime. Game Time has a new feature as well called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see live events even easier. It's super simple. It just filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. I know you go on some of these ticketing sites and, it's kind of tough to find the best value on seats. That Game Time Picks filter helps you out with that. Game Time also has killer last-minute deals. They have all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest prices guaranteed. Prices on the Game Time app go down the closer you get to the start of the event. So last minute, you want to catch an Alabama basketball game. You're just in T-Town, or if they're on the road and you're, not necessarily living in Alabama, you can get tickets last minute on Game Time. Very simple, very easy, very cheap as well. You can go to the Reese's Senior Bowl. If you've never been to the Senior Bowl, it's a very fun event, lasts all week long. You can take the kids there throughout the week, get some autographs as well, and tickets are usually cheap as well to the actual game. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and redeem promo code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS, that's ChatSports, for $20 off your first purchase. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video. So download Game Time today. They have last-minute tickets at the lowest prices, guaranteed. Now we're going to get into some recruiting news here. The number one running back in the 2027 recruiting cycle, E.J. Crowell, has now reclassified to the 2026 cycle. So, you see this, not very often, but it does happen, there's probably one or two players a year, maybe one or two players every couple of years that end up reclassifying. Saw it a couple years ago with Ryan Williams, reclassifying to that 2024 class instead of the 2026 class. You also saw a couple years ago Austin Mack also reclassified and was also at Washington as a 17-year-old as well. Now, this is going to affect the recruiting rankings for him right now, which he's still going to be a top player in the country, top player in the state of Alabama, but he did go from a 5-star to a 4-star, went from number 7 overall to number 81 overall. football went from the number 1 running back in the 2026 class to the number 7 running back in the 2027 class. But like I said, he's still going to be one of those top players, in that recruiting class, especially one of the top players in the state of Alabama as well. Now, he is going to be making a visit down to Tuscaloosa from Jackson High School for Alabama's Junior Day on February 1st. Kalen DeBoer, Jamarcus Shepard visited him in home, or at a school, I actually believe it was, back on January 8th, so there's been some very recent connection there as well. And he did also say Alabama does feel like they are making him a priority, so that's a good thing to hear as well. Some other teams to monitor for Xavier Crowell as well: Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, and Texas. He's taken visits to all 4 of those schools so far, so we'll definitely keep you guys updated on everything in regards to Alabama football out there, whether it's recruiting or, breaking news that comes out. Anything Alabama football related, we've got free videos for you all year long. Just because the season ends does not mean we're going to stop making videos for you. Make sure you guys stay up to date. Hit that sub button for me right now. Next up on today's show, Alabama also visited one of the top tackle in the 2026 recruiting class. Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan, and Coach Kapilovic all went and visited number 1 offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell on Monday. You're sending out the big guns right there, right? You send in Kalen DeBoer, Courtney Morgan. Those are always, when you see those 2 guys in particular, and then especially a position coach as well, all 3 visiting 1 guy, that means, he is definitely a priority. Number 1 player in this 2026 recruiting class as well. He's a big dude, 6'8", 300 pounds already. Like I said, number 1 player overall, according to the 247 Sports composite rankings right now. Also, the number 1 player out of the state of Missouri. This is a big, big target for Alabama. Definitely going to be a player that you're going to need to keep an eye on here in the next couple of months as well. Had a relationship when Nick Saban was also in the building as Alabama's head coach as well. So definitely been a player that's been on Alabama's radar for a long time. This is what he told 247 Sports kind of about his relationship as of right now with Alabama's offensive line coach, Chris Kapilovic. He said, Coach Kapilovic also offered me when he was a coach at Michigan State. I was considering going up there for a visit at some point. He left there, went to Baylor, then I saw him here at Alabama and realized it's a pretty good situation because it was someone that I was already familiar with. And you talk about those relationships and everything like that. That is a lot of what goes into making, these decisions for these recruits. It's not always about the NIL dollars, A lot of the times, it can be about NIL, but the relationship building is something that's really, really big for recruits. Some of the other top schools right now as well for Jackson Cantwell, you got Miami, Nebraska, Missouri, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon. And he did also tell 247 Sports that 3 or 4 of these teams, including Alabama in that as well, are probably going to get a multi-day visit before he ends up making his decision sometime this summer. Like I said, he's probably going to make that decision before his senior season is what he is expecting to do as of right now anyways. Obviously, things can change, but as of right now, he's going to try to make that decision before his senior season starts. So let me know here in the comment section, will Alabama land the number 1 player in the 2026 recruiting class, Jackson Cantwell? Type 1 if you think can't will, or type 0 if you think can't won't. See what the guys did there?